For your weekly practice logs, there's information in two places. So the first place we're going to go is the fall folder, and we're going to go to training logs and models. In this folder, you have your training log cover sheets in a doc form or in a PDF form. And then you also have the training log itself. This is something that I personally use because this format makes sense to me. Not everybody uses this format, but this training log is here for your benefit. You don't have to use this specific training log if you do not want to, but everyone is required to use the training plan cover sheet and making sure that you are filling this out. Okay, so when you go through your training plan cover sheet, you're either doing a week in advance plan, which most first year students are encouraged, highly encouraged to do. If you are a student who's been here for a while, you may be using a day in advance plan or a day of plan. You can also have no plan where like maybe one day out of the week, like a weekend, it's just unstructured and you just play whatever you want. That's totally fine. But you want to make sure that you are marking off exactly what kind of plan you are utilizing. You also want to make sure that you are listing your affirmations. So one of my favorite affirmations that I use is I am able to play with passion and ease. Or I am able to play with close, relaxed, controlled fingers. Or I play with beautiful breath management. You want to make sure that everything is first person, it's present tense, it's something that you want to have be the forefront of your practice for that week, or that month, or that semester. You also are going to list your goals, your big goals, your small goals, what you want to work on. And there are some suggested topics that you can have, but you don't have to use all of these topics or any of these topics. You'll likely use some of them. Okay, so then if you want more explanation or strategies, go into this folder. You have some training plan models. You have Professor Asima Kopoulos's example. A previous graduate student wrote some notes on how to use this. Here's a link to a Facebook video that goes through these training logs. This is all information that you can use if you need some help building your training log after this video. And then we also have examples of training logs here. So multiple training logs are in this folder. You can also go to our general resources folder. And again, we have more examples of practice logs here as well. There really isn't a right or wrong way to do it as long as you are being intentional and methodical. So for this specific example, this is one of my old practice logs. I did a week in advance plan, but I also had time or days that were completely unstructured and I didn't have a plan. I worked with specific times, and I also had days where I worked with specific topics and an outcome-based plan. So a time-based plan means from this time to this time, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on, let's see, what was I working on? I was working on eBear. So, I'm going to work on memorizing eBear for 10 minutes today. But then maybe the next day, my outcome was I'm not going to move on until I have this section of eBear memorized. And then a topic-based plan could be I'm focusing on articulation on these three pieces. Okay, so it's not that there is a right way or a wrong way. It's just what works for you. And I personally do well making sure that I have a variation of all of these, where some days I focus on time, some days I focus on topics, and some days I focus on an outcome. And then it's also really important to make sure that you alternate your time increments and the order of your training elements, and make sure that you think about how you're practicing vertically, meaning what are you doing for the entire day, right? So I have some free time here, and then after like this second hour, this is a really tough hour for me working on ZoomTube. That was like a very exhausting hour. So thinking vertically, I knew my third hour of practice had to be free time where I was allowed to just do whatever I wanted, whatever my heart wanted. I also was thinking more horizontally and making sure that I was hitting Morlocki multiple times throughout the week. I was making sure that I was hitting ZoomTube multiple times throughout the week. I was making sure that I had free time every single day, I think, or almost every single day throughout the week. So it's important to make sure that you are paying attention to what you're doing within a day, but also making sure that you're hitting something within a week. So as you can see here, I gave myself 30 minutes of free time, meaning I could do whatever I wanted. But my last 30 minutes in that hour, I was focusing on articulation in ZoomTube. So that correlates to a topic-based plan. My topic was articulation, but I also had a time-based plan. I was only doing it for a half hour. For here, this is a very topic-based lesson where I'm working on hot points, I'm working on my sound, I'm working on resonance. So those are all some things that you can do to organize your practice plan. You can also see here that I ended up switching my practice order where, I didn't love what I had planned earlier in the week, so I moved this section up earlier in the day, and that's totally fine as well. And then this is something that I just started doing myself. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I personally like to list the pieces that I'm working on, and I like to list my goals of what I'm trying to focus on for that week. And then down here, I label and tell myself what worked. So clearly, 30 minutes of articulation was way too much for me during this time. But on Saturday, I really loved, what did I do? I don't know. Oh, I really loved being able to just focus on fundamentals and focus on my sound for a full hour. That was really, really nice for me, apparently, based on that. I really liked what I was doing with Morlocki, but I did not like what I was doing with Telemann that day. So this is just something for me to have like checks and balance of how I am organizing my practice plan, if I like it, if I don't, and that helps me with the next week. Like, clearly, Sunday's second hour of practice was not like the greatest, so maybe I won't do that again. What did I even do? Oh yeah, I did a whole hour of ZoomTube. That was really bad. That was poor planning on my part. So this is how I personally do my practice logs. You can see that Samantha Donnell from a previous school year did her practice logs a little bit differently. If it will load. Here we are. So she did hers in Google. Oh no, she took a picture of hers. So she also used the same exact chart that Professor Asimakopoulos does. And you can see that she made her recital run through at the very end. Okay, you can see that she was splitting things up very consistently in different time increments. If you look over at Lauren Zwanix, she didn't use the exact sheet that Professor Asimakopoulos provides, but she formatted her sheet to be similar. So it's really whatever works best for you. Figure out what works best for you. Make it happen. And again, if you have any questions or you struggle, you can always ask Professor Asimakopoulos. You're going to spend quite a bit of time at the beginning of your lessons early on in the semester going over your practice plans, talking about what worked and what didn't. You can also ask your studio mentors or your graduate assistant for some help.